Brothers and sisters, welcome. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to all the folks around the world. Very honored and privileged to do this quick presentation on critical thinking, creativity, and innovation. My name is Mizan. I'm from London. I am a social entrepreneur as well as a businessman and a keen activist in the Muslim community. But I'm really going to talk about just generic critical thinking, creativity, and innovation, why it's important. And, you know, as we move into the next phase of development of an economy or industrial cycle, you know, the fourth sector, fifth sector, whatever it is, it's becoming more and more clear, creativity and innovation, having those skills. Some people have it naturally, some people don't, you know, it's going to be very, very important. And obviously critical thinking as well. So I'm going to go into the second slide. So, I mean, the first one, obviously, I just thought, you know, give people an idea what it's all about, you know, and the brain is one of the most amazing organs of the human being, but, you know, and the thousands and millions of neurons, as you can see, you know, it's open up for multiple possibilities, you know, as you can see from the colors emanating from the brain over here. So I just thought this picture sort of sums up critical thinking, creativity, and innovation as well.
Mizan, please speak a bit louder. I think people will be able to hear you, but your voice is a little bit...
Okay, can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yes, it's better.
Fantastic. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. I think, you know, just to, you know, what is critical thinking? What is creative thinking? What is problem solving? I mean, this Venn diagram sort of, you know, sums up some of the things, some of the definitions that we may know already. I mean, and there's no, you know, you can add lots and lots of things, and some of them are crossovers as well. So creative thinking is imagination, invent and change and design. Critical thinking, just very briefly, analyzing, break down, compare, categorize. So problem solving, both of them together, we can try and solve problems. Okay, problem solving is about design, refine, and these are industry wide. They're not just in one particular industry, whether it's tech or whether it's medicine, whether it's every single sector in life. Critical thinking, creativity, innovations, it's one of the most important skills or facets of the human being. The thing that what makes us human, this is the key thing. You know, we just recited the Holy Quran, mashallah. You know, Farhad recited beautifully. You know, and what makes us different from the animal kingdom is the aql, the capacity to think, capacity to reason, the capacity to find solutions, be creative and innovative. You know, otherwise we would not have done farming. You see, the animals can't farm like us. You see, so we have these faculties given to us by God for a purpose and for a reason. So moving on to the next slides, right? So it's sometimes important to define things. So let me just try and find some definitions of creativity, okay? And there's no set definition. Remember, they're all transient also. But I mean, to make it easy for us, creativity, you could say, is one of the most critical skills now for the future. Without creativity, there's no innovation. But there's mixed evidence anyway, how to develop it, whether it's transferable or not, okay? The OECD, which is the Oil Economic Countries Development, I mean, it's a very influential group of countries. Memorization is less useful. This is the director for education skills. This is what she said, is less useful as problems become more difficult. That's very important. The dilemma for educators is that routine academic knowledge, the skills that is easiest to teach and easiest to teach, are exactly the skills that are also the easiest to digitize, automate, and outsource. You see, so in the future,
Mizan, some people want you to speak louder still.
Louder
so if you could be a bit, yeah.
Okay, I'll try and make it even louder than that. So,
Yes,
you know, however, educational success is no longer about reproducing content knowledge. It's about extrapolating from what we know, applying that knowledge creatively in novel situations, about thinking across the boundaries of subject matter disciplines. Yeah. So it's very, very important. You know, the easy things are, you know, we're moving to now where things which we take for granted, can be digitized. So what's left for us as human beings? What can we do? Well, creativity is not just the solely related to arts and culture. When you think of creativity, many of us just think of the arts and culture. But actually, there is a lot of development of cross-disciplinary creative thinking skills, coming up with original creative ideas in science and non-science as well. So there's evidence that these skills give us the edge in a world driven by artificial intelligence and new technologies. So that's very, very important. As the economies and societies become digitized, what does that mean? Okay, so more recently, something very important as well. We have been asking ourselves, what will be the long-term impact of the decline of arts in schools? Okay, are creative careers and pursuits increasingly elitist? Will AI, artificial intelligence, challenge our preconceptions about human creativity? How do we turn the tide and bridge the growing creativity divide? This is something very, very important. Research shows, this is Nesta, it's a research company, shows that creativity will become more important to the growth of jobs between now and 2030. So based on analysis of 35 million job adverts around the world, what they saw, research from the Creative Industry Policy and Evidence Center found that creative industries don't have a monopoly on creativity, which is very important. You see, so what it means, creativity is cross-platform, cross-industry, cross-sectors as well. So it's not just necessarily in the arts and culture industry. So moving on, and I'll share these slides we'll share these slides as well. So it should be now. Critical thinking and creative thinking and critical thinking. What's the difference? Okay, something very important. There is a distinction and there is an overlap as well. So critical and creative thought are both achievements of thought. Okay, creativity masters a process of making or producing, critically a process of assessing or judging. So these are definitions I found from intellectuals, and I'll give you the source for them as well. And remember, they're transient. They're not static. They're not just defined and that's the end of it. No, it's always changing and moving. The very definition of the word creative implies a critical component. So by being creative, you're actually inherently being critical as well. This is something very, very important, whether having or showing imagination or artistic or intellectual inventiveness. Yeah. So when engaged in a high quality thought, the mind must simultaneously produce and assess and generate and judge the products fabricants. So in short, sound thinking requires imagination and intellectual standards. Okay, very, very important. So by asserting that both forms of thought are inherently linked, arguing quite strongly, critical thinking without creativity reduces to mere skepticism and negativity, and creativity without critical thought reduces to mere novelty. Okay, so they are different, but at the same time they are interlinked. Okay, creative thinking and critical thinking. Okay, very, very important. And I will explain later on how that's so with some practical examples as well. Now, critical or creative thinking. How do I navigate this? What is it? Is it critical thinking I'm doing or creative thinking I'm doing? With the definitions in mind we just mentioned. Okay, just think about that. So creativity is consequently necessary for critical thinking. We've established that. Okay, this is taken from a report, and I'll get the references there. But in itself, it's not sufficient to guarantee that will occur. Okay, so creative people may bubble with ideas. You get very creative people, but they're in their own little bubbles. But to successfully get things done, they must engage in problem finding. Okay, so sometimes you have many folks are just, they're in their own little bubble, academic bubble or whatever bubble, but they're only going to be, to be successful, they must engage in problem solving. So a thinking activity that utilizes existing context and experience to produce and express new questions. Needless to say, look, critical thinking is not easy, and the pressure of time, something that many experience, can enhance the notion, right? And there's a chap called Sostrin. He argues an unbridled agency can be counterproductive and costly. If you're too quick to react, you can end up with short-sightedness, and at the same time, decisions and superficial solutions, neglecting underlying causes, and create collateral damage in the process. Okay, whilst at the same time, if you're problem solving is in many ways a natural human activity. I've got an issue, I've got to find a solution to this. It's the fitra of human being. We're always trying to find a solution to something. And the aql, the intelligence, is what makes us human. We have a choice, we have a thinking capacity. Otherwise, we're not going to be no different from the animals. Now, if you reflect, have tafakkur, yani, if you reflect further you might recognize effective problem solving is much harder. Okay, and an important step to understanding the nature of the problem you're trying to solve and the full complexity it entails. So taking a more critical approach to problem solving can help address many things new and productive ways. Okay, so we have creative thinking, critical thinking. These are some of the definitions and some of the elaborate definitions. Now, so this is sort of a diagram, gives you an idea, organizing elements for critical and creative thinking. So these are, again, there's no hard and fast rules, okay? But they're organized into 4 interrelated elements, okay? So, it starts off with inquiring, identifying and exploring and organizing information and ideas. Then we move on to generating ideas and possibilities and actions. Okay. Once we've done that, we do the analyzing, synthesis, evaluating, reasoning, and the procedures. And then after that, we have reflecting and thinking and processes. So that's, like, you could say, the cycle of critical and creative thinking. Again, these are. It's not really a cycle. At the same time, it could be happening at the same time. So it's not like a waterfall cycle. It has to happen synchronously. It can happen at each stage all the time. So it's very, very important we understand that. Now, moving on to the next item, the next subject, innovation. Okay, innovation. So we've talked about critical thinking, we talked about creativity, and now we're going to talk about innovation, right? Successful innovators, whether it's in industry, whether it's in academia, whether it's even in social humanities, whatever it is, think critically and act strategically. Okay. Although the ability to solve problems can rely heavily on the innovator's creativity, a deeper look at the innovation process shows that creativity is one of the many variables found in the equation of a successful innovation. So successful innovation, it's intrinsically dependent on creativity, okay? But before some and others create thinking occurs, where and how does critical thinking fit into the process of critical thinking innovation? Okay, so these are some, 5 steps you could identify about the innovation process itself. Am I innovating something new? And you should always look at this. Whatever you do, if you want to innovate something, if you want to find a solution to something, always accurately identify the problem to be solved, whatever it is. Be it a freeway, be it an essay you're trying to do, or you're trying to sort out some issue in the world. Identify the problem to be solved. Freely and openly brainstorm any and all possible solutions to the problem. So you've got to keep an open mind to this. And obviously count it down to 3 or 4 possible solutions. You could count it down to whatever. I'm just giving an example of 3 or 4, and perform some research on each of them as to determine whether there's a clear way or best solution to test first. And obviously always start off when you're testing, test the top choice when implementing a plan that produces good enough prototypes, okay? Whether it's version 1, and this is whether it's technology, whether it's medicine, agriculture. These are skills which are across the board. Every human being can utilize these skills. And obviously then after that, you launch the version and get some feedback from prospective clients or customers, and then you can make those changes or so. So look, so those 5 steps sort of sums up the innovation process. It's like with any business circle. But the reason why innovation benefits from critical thinking is simple. Critical thinking is used when judgment is needed to produce a desired set of valued outcomes. Okay, these are just definitions, but there's inherent truth in that. This is why the majority of innovation outcomes reflect incremental improvements built on a foundation of critical thought out solutions. So the things which are the most value add, cutting edge, they're bringing something different. They're bringing something new, which others haven't. And the fact that others haven't done it, that means they must have thought about it. So look, this is not doing this. This is not doing this. This is not doing this. That is also critical thinking. Now, by coming up with a solution is the driving factor to being creativity, creative also. Okay, and moving on to the next slide. Right, so sorry about this, but anyway, look, I don't want to read it out. You can have this sent out to you. Look, successful innovators know how to think critically. Think of, just think of Elon Musk, who's just, sent one of the spaceships to space. He's a great creative, critical thinker, or even Steve Jobs. The pragmatist prefers to place his feet firmly on the ground in the pursuit of day-to-day sort of thing. Whereas the people like Musk's and Jobs and some of the most innovative people in the world, they want to go beyond that. They want to go into the future where the marketplace is heading or should be heading. And the rest of us just look at to-do lists and hunker down at small things day to day. So that's the difference between the innovators who are successful. They go out, they try it, they do their best, whether it's a success or failure, it doesn't really matter. Remember, there's no such thing as failure. It's still a success because you've tried it, you've done the best as you can, and you can reflect on it and build on it. Now, obviously, today's businesses, the economy, technology is much, much more complex, and the speed of communications has made it much, much faster. We're living in a very hyper-fast so our innovators need to apply critical thinking methods. Okay? Now, and as I said, as it says, to thrive in the various sectors, you've got the norm to be critical thinking innovators. Okay, that is the norm. Okay, whenever you're confronted with a problem, don't always go for the quick fix. It's easy to go for the quick fix because it's easy, it's lazy. Try and assess the problem you're looking at from a different angle. Take your time, analyze it, make some effort at all possible solutions. Oh, what happened there? I maybe have to share it again. Sorry about that.
No, I did this. I think I'm sorry for that. I think you can continue without that. I sent the presentation in the group anyways. Or if there's something you want to, yeah, I have.
Okay, so let me just get back to the, sorry. Let's see the presentation. Here we go. Okay, so so where was it? So as I said, take your time, try and find out what it is, above all, as I said, it's not about is successful innovation. This is something important. Successful innovation is not about formulating problem-solving issue. The key is to achieve success is to create a process, critical thinking that supports a focused, disciplined approach to transforming problem-solving ideas into market support products and services. It's very, very important. A lot of us think of innovation, we're going to solve the problem. No, it's about also the process as well. If the process is sound, then we're moving ahead, you see. A lot of times we should also engage in what and if thinking. This is very important. What are our competitors' reactions if we introduce a solution to the market? What will customers think if we offer this alternative? What are the short-term, long-term impacts of our suppliers, distributors, abandons us? What if situations beyond our control threaten our innovation success? Now, I'm giving a lot of generic thing because I don't, because people here are here to build skills. So these are industry wide ideas. So it doesn't matter what industry you are, the rules, the definitions apply to you, whether you're in a religious institutions, whether you're in science or chemistry or medicine or agriculture, whatever, clothing, the rules apply the same at the end of the day. Right. Okay. So in many instances, critical thought out innovation is the panacea that reverses flat revenue. And look, at the end of the day, we are talking about revenue. Yeah, we're trying to make, if you're into the, stepped into any business meeting or attend a college class or coffee shop, the word innovation permeates conversation. And for a good reason at the end of the day, whether it's the boardroom. Look, my recommendation is that you either have an injected or plan to insert critical thinking methodology into your organization's innovation process. It's a good thing to do. Look, as human beings, as Muslims, we do critical thinking, self-reflective every day. It's called muhasiba, right? Every single time we go to bed, we take account of ourselves before we take account of others. And that is sometimes self-reflective critical thinking as well. It's also creative because the next day you want to do something better, right? You want to be amazing the next day. You want to fulfill a beautiful life every day according to your values and your principles. In conclusion, look, innovation serves as a bridge that links problems in solving to those who are willing to pay for innovation solutions. Look, the bridge to successful innovation is crossed with by many innovators. So if you're positioning your company to produce successful innovations, I recommend you use innovation processes that emphasize critical thinking, applied creativity, and disciplined execution. This is very, very important. Okay, if you wanna, the title is critical thinking, creativity, and innovation. Look, to be successful, we really recommend that you use an innovative process, but that emphasizes self-critical thinking, okay, applying creativity, but it's got to be disciplined, okay? Disciplined, you can't do it haphazard. And then obviously designing innovation processes in the manner that produces your outcomes that strengthen your organization's innovation ecosystem. So doing so directly contributes to the excellence, ihsan, say in Arabic or in Islamic language. Ihsan, doing so directly contributes to the excellence that is achieved by critically thinking innovation. And really, a lot of the times, if we look at our own selves, muhasiba, taking account of yourself, every night, critical thinking and trying to find, how to become better, it's an example. Look, it's about ihsan, being excellence in what you do. And that's what we want to do. We want to be excellent in what we want to do. So, inshallah, the future is good for folks in Pakistan and around the world. If you, embrace these ideas at the end of the day of critical thinking and creativity and innovation, because at the end of the day, it's about ihsan, it's about excellence. And that's what Allah loves, excellence in whatever you do. Thank you so much. We'll open up for questions, inshallah.
Okay. All participants have listened to Mizan, who's talking about creativity and innovation, and the house is open for questions. I think I'll start with a question of mine.
Yeah.
Now, we do understand the importance of critical thinking, creativity, and innovation.
Yes.
But somehow we have not been able to incorporate that in our education systems, especially in our country context.
Yeah. So
what is the reason for that, and how could that be done?
I think it has been there. It's a culture. You see, look, it goes back to one's emotional state, because at the end of the day, we can't be complacent in our state. We're always in the process of change. So people are inherently scared of change because it means they think that you're gonna be left out. But it doesn't necessarily mean that. It means it's a great opportunity to improve or move on or do something better, you see. So part of the problem with the education system is not just Pakistan, it's just the world on over. We're still in a sort of 20th century mode of education system because the speed of how industries are moving nowadays. Most of the companies in the world which do HR training or skills-based training or universities are themselves struggling to catch up because the pace is so fast. But the most important thing is, look, whatever you do, try at least start implementing notions. I mean, already there is critical thinking. It's already there, but just highlight it more. Allow more space for creativity. Now, to allow for creativity, what we do very bad in the Muslim world or in the developing world, in the South, memorization is lovely and doing things by the manual is lovely, but we also have to allow for making mistakes. when you make lots of mistakes, that's a success, because each iteration of a failure it's one step closer to getting the success of what you want to come to. It's very, very important. And that's an emotional trait or an emotional state that we haven't really understood yet. And I think we can only do that when we embrace it and learn to accept this idea is failure is also success. Failure is not failure. Yeah, failure is also part of the process of emotionally maturing, accepting and moving and growing. As long as you reflect, have muhasiba, have some self-reflection, what you could have done better, ways of doing things better, and possibly the ways of doing better could find some solutions. And obviously innovation is innovation. So look, I think in our societies, especially in Pakistan, there is a lot of creatives. There's a lot of critical thinking. There's a lot of creativity and innovation. But I think we just need to bring it out in the open and just try and somehow, manage it better or put it into some sort of, a process or some sort of, deliverable program. At the moment, it's all over the place. And that's why we can't see it. You see, some of the most innovative, creative people are some of the most poorest people with the least resources, because they've got to survive. It's a survival instinct, right? At the end of the day. And some of the most, least creative people, but they're very good at PR. And I'm sorry to say that, especially in the West. They're very good at PR, but they're not that very creative sometimes. It depends. It really depends on the industry, depends on the individual. Those are my 2 cents.
Okay. There's a question from Myra. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
So how do we encourage creative minds in our society, especially in Burn culture? Medical science students are considered, they're smart, but like when it comes to our creative intellectuals, they're not smart and they don't deserve to be supported. So how do we support these, creative people who want to do something in, some other field than just science?
Okay, right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's going to take time, Maria, because we're going through a transitional generation here. How do, from what I understand, how do we support like that? I think one of the most important things we need to, I think we need to reclaim in our tradition is the art of storytelling, the art of being, thinking outside of the box, not within the box, not being content with just within the box. That's going to take a couple of generations, you see, and we just have to accept that. And during the process, there are going to be individuals, there's going to be generations who will just have to take that risk. You see, and at each iteration, they're going to be failures. But at each iteration, you're coming closer and closer to the successful goal you want to achieve. Now, goals at the end of the day doesn't mean that you're going to make your millions and you're going to do what you want to do. It probably means that it's a cultural change. It's a cultural shift. That is also a goal. You see, it's also a goal. And we have to accept that. If in my lifetime, I can get a shift in the mindset, right? Not in the outcomes. That is also a goal, you see. That's also a goal. And I think, if we can do that. Now, with regards to folks who are beyond just, if I can remember, I think you mentioned something about medical professions or non-medical professions. Aisha, if you could correct me.
Yes, it was about medical related fields.
So the challenge is how to make creativity and more.
From my understanding, they are just set patterns and set disciplines within fields as well, which we usually take up. So somebody wants to take up new things or new ideas, he does face difficulties. I think Myra is referring to that, and if she's not, she's most welcome to speak up again.
I mean, especially in our culture, like we know, medical is pushed more. Like if we see creatives, they're like, that's not going to work out in the future. You're supposed to do something, that will work out.
Okay,
Myra, I'm from social sciences discipline, so it does work out. I'm telling you, please believe that.
Okay, I see what you mean. As in becoming a professional in the non-medical accountancy, non-technocratic subjects, basically.
Yes.
Non-technocratic subjects. I think that's just a problem of human society. And one of the reasons why is because of the lack of philosophy in human society, the importance of philosophy. That's going to take, we need to revive the importance of storytelling, the importance of philosophy, the importance of the creative arts, the creative output. Look, here's an example, right? Okay, which is something, and we have to show real life examples. Look, and I use this one all the time. Look, and I'm whatever you think of him, whatever you think of his company, put that aside. Look, one of the richest men in the world, most innovative men in the world, who you never thought 20 years ago would have come out and existed from China, is Jack Ma, right? All right, Jack Ma is the owner of Alibaba, right? Okay, but people don't realize, forget the fact that Jack Ma, I mean, Ma is they say it's a shorthand for Muhammad, you know, it's the Chinese word for Muhammad. But anyway, he's not, whether he's a Muslim or not, that's secondary. What's interesting is, why did he call his company Alibaba? Okay, he's a Chinese guy, you know, very disconnected from the Muslim civilization and story. Why is that? He was inspired, right, by the stories of Arabian Nights, 1001 Arabian Nights. This is a story nearly 1,000 years ago, right? Okay, 1,000 years. So the power of the storytelling, and he was so infused by these cheap, dramas sent to China on the Arabian Nights, watching Alibaba's cavern. He was inspired by the stories of Alibaba to create, to name his company, you know, Alibaba.com, you see? Now, that's amazing. That is proof in the pudding of creativity. And Alibaba is doing some cutting edge stuff as in terms of, in terms of delivering products as a warehouse and so on, so on, so on. So I think, you know, look, whatever you do, just don't stop. There is hope. It's going to happen. Creative industry is going to be more and more relevant. In the future, it's very clear. It's not good enough just being STEM. You've got to have those soft skills, or I don't like the word soft skills. You've got to have those other human skills, which are just as important. You know, compassion, empathy, using, the other faculties of the brain, which help in the process of creativity and innovation. And I think as we move towards that, because digitization is going to make those manual tasks, the manual tasks are going to go away. So naturally, those who will stay put will have to be innovators and creativity folks, not people who could just memorize and get the highest scores, you see. Who knows? I mean, even doctors themselves are going to be, on the redundancy level. If robots come out, you see, they'll do the basic procedures. So what will these doctors do, you see? This is a lot of the discussions are happening. Yeah.
Okay, we have Dr. Mohammed Shoaib Tufail from Bahrain over here, and he wants to ask a question. Please go ahead, Dr. Saab.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. It's very nice and heart-touching to me. This your topic is critical thinking, creativity, innovations. After a long clinical experience, more than 30 years in professional family medicine and administration, now I realize that generation which we were grown up, we have these elements in our medical schools and hostel living and interaction with the students and patients. Now the time is changed after post-COVID-19 era, which we see is online consultations and online all these things with the patients. It's regarding, I feel it's quite difficult for the medical profession at this time to have these elements of being a doctor. Not that they are professionally a doctor, but they must be a human first.
Of course.
And first they have humanities, and these what you are talking, the basic elements of the humanities regarding the social life, mental health and social health and physical health, all these things. Now health is defined in a different angles. I think you are touching the foundation part of the human health. And to be a creativity. My message to the youngster, in your supervision, no doubt they will not teach in a syllabus or in a new world, technical world or IT world, but at the part they must have to learn these things their own, or in the group sessions, in meetings like I feel philosophy, psychology, social sciences, and these are the most basic subjects of life to be a human. than to be a medical profession or engineer or any IT professionals. This is my message to the youngsters.
Mashallah.
Please concentrate. These subjects are your elements, how you build your life wall, your life building. If you are missing these elements, I think you can get a degree or you can get a good professional 2 + 2 4, but you may feel difficulty to interact with the humans. So my message is, yes, you go on. This is my comment.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And we also forget that a lot of the prophets were shepherds, alayhi salam, right? And they were close to nature, fitra, you know, and a lot of our professions, all of us, whether in tech or teaching, we're moving away from the countryside. Most of humanity be in rural areas, right? Urbanization is still
yes.
And the more we get back to nature, then the more humble we'll be, and we'll realize, in the bigger scheme of things, we're nothing. There's a creator, and it can open up a lot of amazing opportunities for us. You see, it's about humility, Yani, at the end of the day, and it's also recognizing. It's about tawheed. It's recognizing your place as part of creation, as by the creator, and so khalq, right, at the end of the day. So khair, thank you so much, Uncle.
I will add only one statement more, that at the end of my career, I feel everybody has to go to the nature.
Yes.
And all diseases what we are facing and challenging and trying to treat them, to some extent, we are trying every 3 to 5 years after researches and medications and this and that. Ultimately, I feel, I wrote in his Facebook the statement, the more you are near the nature, you are more free of the diseases. Number one. Number two, the most thing is the patience, sabr.
Yes, sabr, yeah.
If you are in a state of patience, then you can do a critical activity, you can to make thinking, innovations. First of all, you must have to be on zero line for the patients and as a relax mentally, physically, and have full thoughts. Exactly. Then you can regenerate all these things, what you are explaining today to the youngsters. Patience and the broad vision, perspective of thinking towards all angles and pros and cons, are all these things analyzing. Then have a deep breath again, then we can get a good line for the direction of change. And that change element is very difficult to accept and digest, even it is minor. Thank you very much. It's a loving subject. I like in this age your subjects and social sciences and philosophy and psychology. These are the basic.
Yeah, it's all linked together.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Saab. Any other questions from the audience? They're most welcome. And critical thinking out of the box, I always have wanted to know what exactly is the box. Mizan, what is the box for you?
Well, okay, so look, you know, something very important I learned many years back. Okay, I'm going to do something here. Look, I'm going to put a slide.
Be a bit louder, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Right.
Yeah, I can.
Do this. And then I'm just going to do something I want. And I say, this is the problem. What is the box? What is the box?
Because many people fail to realize what the box is.
What the box
We all want to get out of the box, but we have to know first what the box is.
What the box is, absolutely right. So I'm going to show.
And everybody can have their own different box.
Exactly. Everyone can have their own different box. I'm just going to give you an example what the box is, okay? So I'm going to give you an example of, imagine this, and I'm going to put a... what is it? It should be something. Okay. If I can, okay, so I'll just get a text here. You can see this? Okay, so, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I can't see your screen. If you're screen sharing, that is.
Okay, haven't done the screen sharing yet?
No, you haven't.
Oh,
but I've enabled it. Please go ahead.
Yeah, you've enabled it. Okay, so I'm going to screen share, if you just bear with me. Okay, screen share. Okay. Okay, you can see that?
Yes, we can.
Right. Okay. What do you see? What do you see? What do you see, guys? Anybody?
It's just a white screen for me.
So you never see the dot?
Yes, there is dot, black dot.
Yeah?
Yes.
You never see the dot? You don't see the white space? You don't see the box around it?
Yes.
Right. So this is the problem with the ummah. We go too dissect into the thing. We don't see the bigger picture. We don't see the smaller picture, you see? So we never see the white space. Sometimes we focus too much on the dot, okay? But we don't see the big white space around the dot, you see? So that's something in life I've learned before we do anything or before we say anything. Thinking outside the box, requires you to really actually, think outside the box, not just the dot.
That's tricky and that's difficult. That's the difficult thing. But we're going to try anyways. Okay, any other questions from our audience? We have some young audience over here as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure their critical thinking skills are way ahead of us. We have Professor Ishtiyaq Gondal with us as well from Punjab University. Sir, if you would like to add something. Dr. Ishtiyaq Gondal Saab, if you would like to add something. I see a raised hand. Please go ahead and mute yourself. If someone wants to ask something, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Bismillah.
Okay, I think there are no more questions.
I have one thing actually to add in it.
Yeah.
Please do.
Like the doctor was talking about the dot and the blank page as a white background. Mm-hmm. It's like coming out of your own zone and practice the different things. One of my teachers in Switzerland used to say that, the blinkers around the horse's eyes, don't be that horse. Take out your blinkers and look here and there. So I believe that doctor means that we need to focus on such things. So when we focus, we can get the result. That's it.
Absolutely. And don't lose the bigger picture.
Yep.
Perfect. Spot on.
Okay, thank you so very much. So, Skillerz chairperson, Dr. Samia Rahil Qazi, she's also with us. I would like her to comment on the program or thank our participant who's joining us from UK.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम व रहमतुल्लाह। मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा खुशी हो रही है मीज़ान आपको यहाँ स्किलर्स के इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे देख के। हम आपको देखते रहते हैं, सुनते रहते हैं और मैं बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ आपकी भी और स्किलर्स के और भी पार्टिसिपेंट्स माशाअल्लाह पूरी दुनिया से एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे मौजूद हैं और इस शर में से, कोरोना के शर में से अल्लाह ने ये खैर बरामद की है कि हम अपनी अपनी जगहों पर बैठे हुए हैं और एक दूसरे से कनेक्ट हैं और एक दूसरे से पहले से ज्यादा कनेक्टिविटी बढ़ रही है। तो इसको हमें इंशाल्लाह इस्तेमाल भी करना है और हम आपको इंशाल्लाह दोबारा भी ज़हमत देंगे। मैं आपकी बड़ी शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि आपने हमें अपने कीमती वक्त में से टाइम दिया। जज़ाकल्लाह खैर।
Barakallahu feek. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you so much.
And more, thank you to Sister Aisha who has started the whole thing off. MashaAllah.